Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Monthly Report. Last week, we had our guest on, and we're continuing that particular discussion and program, centering around diabetes and centering around the National Federation of the Blind Newsline service that's sponsored through our Talking Book and Braille Library. You can access that information through our commercials throughout the show. And please, give us a call, check out those websites, and learn more about the service that we're offering, a free service where individuals can read over 400 newspapers and over 60 magazines 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by using an app that we have for the Apple device and as well as the Android phone. You can use that. The landline phone, that's very accessible for the National Federation of the Blind Newsline service, and the digital talking player sponsored through the Talking Book and Braille Library Service of Congress. So let's talk a little bit more, Florence, about this diabetes, the magazines that we have on Newsline, NFB Newsline for diabetes.
I can certainly do that. And I agree with you, Lee, that last week's show was a very interesting show. And it brought to mind some magazines that I believe are very helpful for people coping with diabetes. The first magazine is called Diabetes Forecast. Another one is Diabetic Living. Another magazine that's also ideal for people coping with diabetes is WebMD. Also, a lot of great information. And those are just 3 of the magazines, but there are so many others that are so very helpful for anyone, every lifestyle. So again, Lee, there's a lot of information out there, and I'm just happy that we have access to NFB Newsline.
Yeah, access as blind citizens and people that are print challenged. And so even those with dyslexia and the shaking hand syndromes, subscribe to our service. It's free. It's better to have it in your toolkit than not to have it.
That's right.
So we're going to come right back with our second interview. And I'm sure that you're going to enjoy it. So it's educational, and it's going to be very impactful and helpful. And we want to thank the family again for coming on to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Monthly Report Show. We'll be right back.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free. Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report with our host Lee Martin, and I'm your host, Florence Myers McSwine. We have back with us today Mr. Anthony Wilson Jr., we call him TJ, along with his mother, Miss Mary Black. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Now, we left off last week. We were talking about coping with diabetes and your journey with diabetes as well as your journey with blindness. So, TJ, tell me a little bit about what was going on with you with coping with diabetes. We mentioned some things last week, so we're just going to take off from there.
Yes. Well, I was in school and I was trying to live the school life and be diabetic at the same time, and it didn't work out real well. So I ended up coming home and regrouping and getting myself back together and going back to school. I went to IUPUI and I finished there, and that's where it went.
And your first, the first incident after returning home from school was a stroke. He's actually had 3 strokes. And, but the first one was in 2006. He wasn't living at home at the time, but it was a mild stroke, but it was a first indication about the seriousness of his diabetes. And last week we spoke of the brittle diabetes, and that is a term that's used for type 1 diabetics whose diabetes is difficult to manage. You have frequent swings from highs and lows, and although you may be doing just what the doctors ordered, but your diabetes is still difficult to control. And that's why you would hear the term brittle diabetic, and just any little change or any little adjustment can cause a setback. And that was the type of diabetes that we were trying to manage with TJ. In 2006, I let him take over from there. He had an opportunity to go to Dubai to play because, as he said, he was very involved in music. He had 2 bands. Go ahead. I'll take it from there. You take it.
Yeah, I got an opportunity from a friend of mine who had been over at in Dubai the year before, and she emailed me and she asked me if I'd like to go, and I said, yeah, I'd like to go. So I ended up going in about 2007, and I went over to Dubai, and I got sick.
Well, talk about the place you played at.
Oh,
Dubai, yeah.
I played at the Dubai Dusit Hotel, which is a Thai hotel in Dubai, and it was a real nice hotel. And I ended up getting sick and having to go into the hospital in Dubai, and they asked me if I was ever been on dialysis, and I was like, no, I haven't been on dialysis. And being in the hospital in Dubai was not fun.
It was a great concern for us because he was so far away and we couldn't get to him. And myself knowing how challenging his health situation was, it really was a concern. When he got home finally, I think he was in the hospital over Christmas. You came home, when was that?
New Year's 2nd. I mean, January 2nd.
That year, after, and had been in the hospital the whole time, and they had taken his passport from him because we didn't have cash to send them right away. They were wanting money that's like right now to send for his health care. So it was really a scary situation.
Well, tell me a little bit about that, because I know that's probably unbeknownst to a lot of our viewers and listeners as to what's expected of you once you, if you unfortunately came into that situation. You said they wanted, cash money.
Exactly. They didn't take insurance there.
They took my passport.
They took his passport because, they didn't want to make sure he didn't leave without, paying. But he couldn't leave the hospital because he was so
So how long
critically ill.
were you in the hospital?
Shortly after Thanksgiving and over Christmas, I remember calling my mother and telling her that I was in the hospital sick, and I didn't want to tell her that I had gotten sick in the hospital.
Well, Mom, how did that impact you?
Oh, you can't even imagine. I mean, knowing your child is that far away and knowing you can't really do anything. I don't know. I mean, here I knew physicians, I knew nurses, I had people I could call, but there I didn't know what to do. I just felt so helpless at the time.
So what did you end up doing?
Well, I think his really close family member helped to get him home. Helped us to get him home. That's all we could do, at the time. Even the place where you worked, I was hoping that they could, because you were getting paid, under contract with them, and I really had hoped that they would have assisted in the process, but that didn't happen either. So, but we got him home, and that was the main thing. We got him home, and got him situated, and it seems kind of weird talking about these things because he is an adult, but being a parent, your kids are always going to be your kids,
That's right.
So I was still with him. We were going to see specialists at the hospital, and I remember one of the nephrologists who I worked with many years, we went to see him, and he was the first person to suggest a pancreas transplant, which I had never heard of at the time. It was several years, it was 2009, about 2009.
It's 2008.
Well, you got the
2008.
2008 when they first introduced us to it.
Yeah, so it was within a year after I came back. And I received a transplant in 2009, in April of 2009.
Yes. And
So
that's when he lost his eyesight.
So we went from the diabetes diagnosis at 13 through college to Dubai, to a stroke, and then through Dubai, and then back to United States, and then with the diagnosis of a pancreas,
Pancreas transplant. Right.
So, trials to triumphs. We will be right back after this break to continue the travels and the journey of this magnificent family. Stay tuned.
I am a blind vendor, and one of the things that I truly miss is reading Vending Times magazine.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
It is a fantastic service.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Well, welcome back to the show. Now, we were speaking with Anthony and his mother, Mary, about your transplant, your pancreas transplant. And, Mary, I was kind of just feeling you as a mother, with the things that are going on with your son. Yes, he is an adult, but he is still your son. So with all those things going on with him, I want to ask you a question before we go on. Where did you find the strength? Who did the strength come from?
Oh my, you don't even have to ask. I tell you, if it had not been for the Lord on our side, God has been so good to us. We have a church family that we've belonged all our life. And I'll tell you, the prayers of the righteous, our pastor has been with us every step of the way. TJ has had many hospitalizations. I can't even count them. Prior to the pancreas transplant, he was so sick so often. And I mean, we've been to the point where I thought I was going to lose him. And it was so hard. And that's why I know my faith is what keeps me strong. It's what keeps us both going, I believe,
That's right.
Now, the turnaround from the time that he was diagnosed to in a need of a pancreas transplant, how much time transformed since in that time frame?
TJ.
That was really a short amount of time. Actually, the transplant for pancreas is a lot shorter than the transplant time for a kidney or any other organ. So it's about 5 months, maybe less than that, before they finally called me on April 9th. They said that they had the pancreas ready. And they had called a couple of times before and said that they might have one, but
he had one of the best surgeons, and if there was anything that wasn't right with an organ, he wouldn't. He said, no, this is not good enough. So we did have a couple of dry runs where we had to get to the hospital and then nothing happened, but that's okay. Because when they had one, it was the right one.
yes.
Yeah.
So then, from after that, you ended up having to have another transplant.
Yeah, 6 years later, I had to have dialysis for 6 years before I got my kidney transplant. I had to have a kidney transplant. And this time while I was on dialysis, I was blind the whole time.
So when did you actually lose your sight?
In 2010, it was about in October when I got out of the hospital. After a few times, I was getting sick still from the surgery, from the pancreas surgery. They said that my kidneys were getting bad, going low, and all of a sudden they gave me some medicine for that sickness, which I haven't. It wasn't C. diff. It was the other one. I haven't had that again since. The medicine worked for the sickness, the infection, but it also took my sight all the way out.
So you were, you say you were blind prior to the kidney transplant.
Yes. Yes, I was on dialysis for 6 years, and my cousin, actually from Florida, he got tested on his own from a birthday party that I had, my 40th birthday party. And my mother made an announcement at the party talking about organ donation and everything. And she gave little pamphlets out to the people so they could get tested or whatever for not just for me, just for anybody to get tested. And my cousin called me on December 23rd, 2016. And that was it, 15?
Yeah.
I don't remember when
Yeah,
it was.
16.
Okay. And,
No, 15, because 16
yeah.
had the surgery.
Yeah. And then he called me on December 23rd and told me he was a match.
Wow.
And I was happy.
Yeah, that was the best Christmas present.
Yes.
It was so, TJ's birthday was in September, and with him being a musician, we had his 40th birthday was at the Jazz Kitchen, and we invited all of his friends from out of town, and they all met at the Jazz Kitchen. And I had been in contact with the Indiana the Kidney Foundation here, and also with TJ's doctors, who were excellent. They gave me the information, and I just made a plea, because a lot of times, especially people of color, we don't think about that, being donors.
That's right.
You know, for our families and friends, and the importance of it. And so it wasn't only for TJ. My son-in-law at the time was also in need of a kidney. He and TJ both were on dialysis at the same time. And at that birthday party, my son-in-law, praise God, and he said, this time next year, TJ and I are going to have our kidneys.
Wow.
That this time that year, they both had their kidneys.
So, TJ.
Praise God. Don't
Wow.
let me start.
So you received your pancreas
Yes.
and you received your kidney.
Yes.
You went through dialysis.
Yes.
And where are you now?
Well, yeah, I'm back playing at church again every week. I played at a couple of National Federation of the Blind functions. Actually, over the past 3 months, I've played more than I've played in the last 10 years.
Awesome.
So it's a good thing.
Awesome. So now where are you with the diabetes?
No more diabetes.
No more
diabetes was
diabetes.
gone when I got the pancreas transplant.
So the diabetes was gone. You lost your sight. You've had no more strokes.
No more strokes.
No more strokes. So
His health is wonderful right now.
So, TJ, this is your story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Miss Mary.
Oh,
And this is your family.
yes, ma'am. Our family has been so loving and so supportive. It's just amazing. I mean, we just have a family like that. When TJ was really sick and didn't have nurses around to help at home, family members would come and take care of him. We've got my daughter, Nicole. She lives in the same community. You know, she's really great about pitching in to help, has been in the past, but it's been wonderful. My oldest daughter, Tamara, I have to mention her. I know she had to take care of TJ when he was not doing his best. She's had to do some things that you wouldn't think of. She's actually a stepsister, but we don't call her that, but would do. But they have been there for him, and I praise God for that.
well, so we're going to man. I mean, this is such a journey.
It is.
I mean, and we're going to take a pause and for the conclusion, and we'll be right back to conclude this journey. Where we're headed now with the Mr. TJ and his wonderful mom. So we'll be right back.
I'm Danny Wayne Beamer, Program Manager of the Elder Blind Program at the Will Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I introduce the NFB Newsline to seniors in 13 southwestern counties in Indiana. I also utilize the NFB Newsline for my radio station public affairs shows. The NFB Newsline. Experience it today.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
With my failing eyesight, I'm not able to read regular newspapers, and I'm not able to keep up with obituaries.
I've been a homemaker all of my life, but since my vision has failed, I wish I could read my favorite magazines.
Have you heard of the NFB Newsline?
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Welcome back to our conclusion of this two-part series. Mary and Anthony, I just want to thank you for appearing and sharing so much, educating. Someone in our community is going to be impacted by your reality and your story. Yes. We just want to thank you both. And we're going to conclude today with a treat, with Anthony playing his sax, and he's going to be playing a song, Amazing Grace. So what church are you attending?
I attend Phillips Temple Christian Methodist Episcopal Church.
And your pastor?
The Reverend Oliver Dwayne Walker.
Okay.
And Brian Walker.
And Brian, okay. So we're going to conclude our program. Thank you very much. And join us again next week. And Mr. Anthony, let us hear Amazing Grace, please.
The National Federation of the Blind Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 317-205-9226. That's 317-205-9226. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.